Hello EFD squad and welcome back to Transfer Review, where me and Pato put some of the bullshit from the papers into our bullshit-o-meter and give you the reading, starting with a big double swoop from our old pal Jose.
Yeah, the Metro say that Jose Mourinho is making a double move for Griezmann and Jan Oblak this summer. Now, the Griezmann rumour we've heard before. As we know, he's a versatile forward. He can play on the wing, he can play up top. Zlatan Ibrahimovic, if he stays, is going to be there for one more season, but probably not any longer than that. And he'd be able to play with Zlatan and then take that centre-forward position once the big Swede moves on. That would be better than somebody, say, Lukaku, who maybe would not be able to play alongside Ibrahimovic and might have to sit on the bench for a year if Man United were to go for him this summer. Also, it looks like there's a kind of vacancy on the flanks in the United team. We've seen Ashley Young used out there, we've seen Rashford, we've seen Martial, of course Mkhitaryan and Juan Mata. And I think it's very clear that Antoine Griezmann would be an upgrade on any one of those. But the Oblak rumour is a little bit more interesting. Now, why would they be going after him, Chris?
Well, he's probably one of the few world-class goalkeepers who could actually, fill the boots of someone like David De Gea. Silly season is upon us. He's obviously being linked with Real Madrid yet again. Obviously, he was moments away from signing for Los Blancos back in 2015 when something happened, didn't it? Something happened, they stalled, some paperwork didn't go through on time, and the move didn't materialise. He was eventually convinced to stay, and he's won 3 Player of the Seasons in a row. I think it might be time for him to move on. But yes, let's look at some similarities. They both make over 2 saves per goal. They're part of a very elite band of goalkeepers which do so. Oblak slightly edges De Gea on this. He makes 2.28 saves per goal he concedes to 2.04 of the likes of De Gea and Thibaut Courtois. Some of the little differences in their game: Jan Oblak has a tendency to punch, whereas De Gea has become pretty dominant in the air. He's caught 61 balls this season. That's more than the likes of Courtois and Keylor Navas at Real Madrid. So his handling has become superb in that regard. And if Mourinho misses out on Oblak, who he'd have to pay upwards of 40 to 50 million pounds for, apparently, according to the Sun, mate, he'd go in for Joe Hart.
That would be an interesting move. It all comes down to whether Real Madrid can push through the De Gea move, right? Whereas the Griezmann one, I think, is very likely. At the very least, Man United are likely to make a bid. He's got an £85 million release clause, and we'd expect that to get triggered in the summer. But what do you guys think? Can you see Griezmann going to United? Can you see Oblak going to United? Can you see De Gea going to Real Madrid? Let us know what you think in the comments below. Our next move is Belgian Youri Tielemans, who might be on his way to Chelsea, according to The Sun. Chris, why would Antonio Conte?
Yes, I'm a big fan of this guy. I mean, why wouldn't he? He's one of the hottest prospects in world football. And yes, Conte is apparently lining up a £25 million bid, swooping in there before Jose can get his greasy mitts on him for the 19-year-old who's already made 176 appearances for Anderlecht at the tender age, as we said, of 19, which is quite frankly absurd. This guy's already got a wealth of experience. He's got 13 goals this season from midfield. He's got 4 in 15 European appearances, I think. And he's got 8 goals and 6 assists in his last 11 appearances. So
not bad.
He's welcoming the pressure. The sort of momentum he's gathering doesn't seem to be phasing him, and the likes of Inter, Juve, Monaco and PSG are interested. Obviously impressed in that 1-1 draw with Manchester United, completed the most passes in his side, and he joins a sort of long list of prodigious young talents, Pato, that Conte looks to be sniffing around this summer.
Yeah, I think that he's going to need some backups here, because I think he's relatively unlikely to get Tielemans. At the moment, it looks like the Belgian is leaning towards a move to Monaco, which would make a lot of sense if somebody like Fabinho or Bakayoko were to leave. It'd be a smart move by the youngster, because he'd immediately go into the first team, whereas of course at Chelsea there's a very solid midfield too in Nemanja Matic and N'Golo Conte. But Antonio Conte is apparently also after Franck Kessié, the Ivorian midfielder at Atalanta, but he looks like he might be on his way to Roma. And so now we're down to Jorge Mere, who's at Sporting Gijón. So he might be a target. It remains to be seen. Chelsea want a midfielder this summer. Antonio Conte's got his checkbook out, but who's it going to be? Will it be Tielemans? You let us know.
On the subject of promising young talent, TalkSport think that Liverpool are going to go in for Thiago Meia from Santos, Pato. What do you think? What do you reckon, big man?
Well, it looks like one Brazilian defensive midfielder may be on his way out of Anfield this summer. That's Lucas Leiva, who's seen out nearly a decade at the club. And Thiago Maia might be a good replacement. He's 20 years old, plays for Santos, has already won the Campeonato Paulista, which he did last season. He's got some appearances for Brazil's under-23 side, and he also picked up a gold medal with the soccer team in Rio. He scored a few goals as well, and he's already topped 100 club appearances. So despite his age, he is an experienced player. Chris, what are they seeing in his numbers that would make him a good defensive midfielder?
Well, let's go through some of them now, Pato. He's averaging 3.1 tackles a game and 2 interceptions. So that's solid from the centre of midfield, particularly in the tackling department. And he can contribute to attacking phases of play as well. 2.3 long balls would suggest he's got a bit of a ping on him. 0.5 key passes isn't bad as well for a defensive midfielder at all. And he's completed around 55 passes a game, so he's obviously comfortable on the ball. Obviously likes to shift it. Now, me and you were talking about this before, weren't we? In the very limited time we dedicated to thinking about this transfer. Who was the last good defensive midfielder to come from the Brazilian league? I mean, you've got the likes of Casemiro. Silva was a big disappointment from Real Madrid when they bought him from Cruzeiro, was it, for 15 million?
I think so.
I think so, but I mean, Fernandinho, where did he play for?
He was from
Where did he play in
Shakhtar.
Brazil, sorry?
Oh, I don't know. He was at Shakhtar for a long time, I think.
He was at Shakhtar. Cut his teeth in Ukraine, didn't he? But do you think he can make the transition, Brazilian fans? We don't know that much about him. Let us know more about the player in the comments below.
We return to Real Madrid now. Apparently, Los Blancos are going to make a £100 million bid for Eden Hazard.
Oh yeah, rugger, Pato.
What do you reckon?
Do you remember a couple of years ago when Eden Hazard actually topped a fan poll for players they'd like to see come through the doors?
They do this every year, mate.
Santiago Bernabeu. So there is an appetite for him. And Florentino Perez likes to placate the fans every now and then, doesn't he, with a ridiculous transfer they don't need. And this fits the bill. Now, 14 goals and 5 assists this season is quite frankly ridiculous. From the 26-year-old, 2.2 key passes a game, 2.1 shots per game, 4.2 dribbles.
Ooh.
That is ridiculous in the Premier League. We look at the likes of Ousmane Dembele in the Bundesliga as a dribbling monster. That's a whole dribble more than that kid who we're going to talk about a little bit later, actually. I mean, these are significantly better numbers than Gareth Bale has been posting this season. He's come in for a bit of flack, hasn't he? But he's been injured. He's still got 1 in 2. I mean, you'd back, I was going to say Gareth Gates then. You'd back Gareth Bale to bounce back from this run of form. But yeah, with Asensio, Vasquez and Rodriguez waiting in the wings, literally to play on the wing, Pato, only 27 starts between them. Do they need to sign any more wide talent? They've got world-class elite wide talent on the bench and up-and-coming youngsters like Asensio chomping at the bit.
True. Well, I think James, though, looks like he's on his way out. He's been linked to Liverpool, he's been linked to Chelsea, he's been linked to Man United. He's going to go somewhere.
Yeah.
And he really needs to play as a number 10. He needs a lot of possession to get the best out of him. Vasquez, I don't think it's ever been good enough, and he's not young enough now to give him the minutes. Asensio, on the other hand, is special. Asensio is 20 years old. He's really talented. We saw him come on against Bayern Munich the other day and grab an assist.
Got a lot of faith in him. Yeah.
Creative, he can score as well. Very fast, phenomenal balance, really good dribbler. And that's actually the reason that I kind of like the Eden Hazard move for Real Madrid. What they've lost over the last few seasons is that ability to kind of blow up corners of defences. Using dribbling. Like sometimes you're facing a sitting defence and what you need is not somebody who can pass through it, but somebody who can dribble through it. Now, Ronaldo is dribbling less and less. Gareth Bale's injury record means that they need somebody else who could do this. They obviously got rid of Di Maria a few seasons ago and Luka Modric is ageing. So what you could do with is somebody like Eden Hazard who could take on the fullback, pull him out of position, beat a centre-back as well, and suddenly there's huge amounts of space for people like Bale and Ronaldo. Also, you kind of think Eden Hazard's 26, so if he wants a big move, this is maybe his last chance to get it, because I don't think that people are going to spend it on a 27-year-old, £100 million on a 27-year-old next year, when you think, well, maybe we get 3 years out of him at his peak before he's the same age that Ronaldo and Benzema are now.
Yeah.
So
why
in that
don't they
sense,
just pay Griezmann's release clause if that's the
well,
case?
well, exactly. That, I mean, that would be quite an interesting move. But that's the thing is, this deal has kind of been floated around again and again, and it's largely on the back of these fan rumours. You know, we know that he's somebody they'd like, but they could probably get someone like Dybala for similar money. The Sun claimed that it was already done. Then that turned out to be bullshit based on Don Balón, which is essentially the Spanish bullshit mill. They just pump stories out that are absolute nonsense. It's just somebody plus huge sum of money going to Real Madrid. I don't know if this is on the cards, but it does make sense to me. What do you think? Do you think it'd be a good move?
I don't think it matters what I think. I think it matters what the fans think. So let us know, guys, in the comments below. Last but not least, it is the transfer shocker, Pato, and this week it is Ousmane Dembele to Manchester United for a pittance at £50 million, according to the Daily Star. Why do we think this stinks?
Well, Borussia Dortmund paid around £12.75 million for the Rennes man a year ago, and apparently they can quadruple their money after a year. But you know what? That doesn't sound like a great deal to me. He's made 18 starts in the Bundesliga. He's got 6 goals and 10 assists. Bear in mind, he's 19 years old. 3.1 dribbles a game. That's a whole dribble more than Leroy Sané and Arjen Robben, who we think of as elite dribbling wide players. He's also shown positional versatility. But why would this happen at £50 million? Why would Borussia Dortmund take that when they've got somebody who could be one of the best players in the world? He really is that good. And I think if he left, then Thomas Tuchel would honestly throw the hat in. Why would he bother? Because you just can't hold on to this level of talent.
He's fast becoming the crown, in the jewel in the crown, isn't he? I don't think Zorc could let him go for that money either. I think Dortmund know what they're onto here. This is a guy who's completed 86 dribbles this season. That's twice as many as Forsberg has done for Red Bull Leipzig, who's having an incredible season. He literally ghosts past people like they're not there. That second half against Monaco was case in point. He was excellent there. But this is a similar, I suppose if I'm going to play devil's advocate here and provide a counter argument, it's a similar scenario to that of Real Madrid and Eden Hazard. Man United are well stocked in terms of wide players, aren't they? Rashford, Martial. I mean, is Martial even a wide player anymore? What is his best position? I don't think we've answered that question this season. Lingard, he's just extended his contract. He's on 100 grand a week. Mourinho obviously values him as a squad player and someone who can contribute in big games. Like we saw him against Chelsea, you know, he's pulling the fullbacks left, right and centre. He's an intelligent player, if inconsistent. The likes of Memphis Depay. He was a powerful young wide man who could go past players like they weren't there at times, but Mourinho didn't trust him. So what's to say that, you know, he wouldn't maybe Ousmane Dembele share the same fate as Mkhitaryan, Pato?
Well, exactly. Mkhitaryan hasn't played enough this season, and he was a Mourinho signing. Yeah. You'd have expected he'd go straight in, and you'd expect he'd probably go in on the right of that attacking three behind the striker, and yet that hasn't really happened. He's been in and out of the team, admittedly had some injuries. But yeah, as you say, they're still kind of reshaping the squad. On the other, I see what you mean about they're quite well stocked in those positions, though I do think if you can get Ousmane Dembele, you get him. But you know what? You can't get him for £50 million. And the fact is, the story also brought up a backup option, which is Ivan Perisic. Now, we've heard this link before, Perisic linked to Man United.
Euros, yeah.
But they said the same fact. They said the same fee for a 28-year-old who's got nowhere near the same level of ability as Ousmane Dembele. £50 million, apparently, they'd be willing to spend for him as well. This smacks to me of absolute bullshit. Guys hunting around the office for a team they can link to a player who will bring in the clicks. I don't think that this one's happening.
Me neither, but what do you guys think? Let us know, as always, in the comments below. So guys, that was this week's transfer review. Have we missed any gobsmackers? Get at us on Twitter if we have. Maybe we'll look at them next week. Pato, what should the fine people do next?
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to check out this week's Stat Wars. Ooh, it's an absolute corker, mate.
And on that note, see ya.
I'm professional.